Hey, I'm Ron Drotos from keyboardimprov.com, and welcome to our journey through the real book number 175, which is John Coltrane's tune Impressions. And one of the purposes of these jazz piano lessons is to help you learn jazz standards in a way that comes from an understanding of them, both when they were recorded, who recorded them, the approach to the recordings, how people have played them, and just getting to know the tunes beyond notes on a page and beyond what you might read, because at the bottom of this it says copyright 1974. So you would think maybe logically, okay, it was written in 1974, right? But it wasn't. It's written in 1961. Actually, it was written earlier. We'll get to that in a second. But the copyright date, maybe that was a renewal. It doesn't say renewed here, but who knows? It's a mystery. But the tune's definitely, or maybe it was never copyrighted. Maybe they just forgot to submit it for, register it for copyright. Anyway, John Coltrane was a member of the Miles Davis quintet and sextet in the late 1950s. And in 1959, they recorded the seminal, wonderful high point of jazz, in some ways, Kind of Blue, the album Kind of Blue, which contained the tune So What? And So What was revolutionary because it was really the first, well, people have been playing modal jazz sort of off and on for a while. I heard Max Roach give a talk once in the 80s where he credited Benny Goodman with introducing modal concepts to jazz with Sing, Sing, Sing in the 1930s. So there you go. That's straight from Max Roach. You know, he credited Benny Goodman. In any case, Miles Davis is the one who popularized it. And his friend Gil Evans, the arranger, Gil Evans, who they used to listen to Russian classical music, you know, where you'd hear things like Stravinsky and Khachaturian, you know, sort of treating scales as with a modal approach, which goes back to ancient times. You know, chant and things like that. If you go to a Renaissance kind of fair or medieval festival recreation these days, you'll hear people playing recorders and such with tunes like this. That's the Dorian mode, just like in Impressions and So What. So What? And Impressions have the same chord pattern. It's brilliant, actually. It's taking this modal approach, which composers like Ravel, right, and who was French, and also the Russian composers and others used. It's in folk music, it's in ancient music, like I said, and they're taking this modal approach rather than tonal, rather than moving through functional harmony with 2-5-1s and such, and they're applying it to a standard AABA song form. So when you hear an old standard, you know, that goes, you know, that's the A section, and then that will repeat, 8 bars repeat usually, and then the bridge, contrasting. And then after that, they go back to the A again. Standard AABA 32-bar song form. So what they did here, well, in So What, was Miles Davis, and I'm pretty sure Gil Evans and probably Bill Evans, the pianist, had a hand in it too somehow. They applied that approach to AABA, where they sort of just take out all the functional harmony, and they're going to say, okay, for the A sections, we're going to play a D minor chord, and then for the B sections, we're going to play E flat minor. And that's it. Those are the chords. So they're easy to play. Hard to keep track of sometimes and count those measures. So what did Coltrane do to come up with Impressions? Well, he'd been playing So What with Miles Davis, and they played it live a lot. You can hear recordings. And apparently the story goes, as they say, the story goes, that Coltrane, when he formed his own quartet, he would just say, you know, they say, well, you know, what are we playing next? And he'd say, So What? But he didn't play, you know, he didn't have the bass player go, and then the pianist like that, McCoy Tyner. Instead, they cut out that and they just played the chords, and he played a melody. You know, he came up with a melody, and it probably evolved over time, I'm guessing, because it sounds a little like he changes it up here and there. So they played So What, quotes, and it evolved into Coltrane's own tune. But he didn't have a title for it. He just called it So What. And then they were recording live for an album in 1961. They recorded it. And the record company said, well, we can't call it So What, because then the royalties go to Miles Davis. You need your own title. And he said, Impressions. They're both great titles, right? So What and Impressions. I don't know if I would have thought of titles that sort of out of the box that work perfectly. So here it is. It's John Coltrane's version of So What, but he called it Impressions. And I think for the approach, you know, it's interesting because when people play So What, they tend to play it like Miles or Herbie, who played it with Miles afterwards, or you know, just based influence in that Miles Davis tradition. And when we play Impressions, we tend to play it more like the John Coltrane Quartet, you know. Nothing wrong with that, but Coltrane didn't play So What the way Miles Davis did. Even on Kind of Blue, his approach is a little different during his solo. And then he took it somewhere else. So we can bring anything we have, anything we love. Let's say that you love, you know, slow sort of chant-like, ancient chant, like with parallel fourths. You love that kind of music. We can play Impressions like that. See, we can bring that to our playing. We can play it subdued. We can do anything. So I think I'm going to start not by having Coltrane in mind, but I'm going to have the kind of music that I like in mind, and maybe somewhere it'll merge. I'll sort of go into that halfway, because I like that too, right? But it's not necessarily my starting point. See, we need to find our own starting point. You need to find your own starting point for playing a tune like Impressions as well. And with the modal approach, it's pretty easy to do, because we don't have to worry about so many like complex voicings or anything. So I think what I'm going to do is start with like open fifths, an octave in the left hand, but in a lighter way. And just start maybe like almost like with a Ravel kind of approach and see where it takes us. Again, I had no idea where that was going. Got a lot of sort of modal clusters, you know? It's a famous story, I don't know how famous it is, but I heard it, that when Miles Davis, around this time, maybe a little earlier than he did So What, he was getting into this modal thing, like with his friend Gil Evans, they were best friends, and they were exploring it together. He was in France at a recording session for a soundtrack he did. And he went up to the pianist, who was French, and for a D minor 7th chord and say, play this voicing. Right? It's just D, E, F, G, A. It's not any voicing you'll read in a book, really. But it sounds great. Right? It's a modal voicing. It's almost like you take your whole hand. Right? It's treating it like taking a voicing from the scale. So we can explore anything on a tune like Impressions, not just what Coltrane and McCoy Tyner did with it. We can take that too, but give ourselves some leeway and find the music that we love to play and bring it to a tune like this too. That's why Coltrane wrote these too. They're vehicles for all of us as jazz musicians. So thanks for being here. We're exploring the whole book, going through it, 175 down, and 224 more to go out of the 400. Thanks again. If you're looking for lessons or if I can help you in any way, let me know. And my video course is at keyboardimprov.com. Take care and good luck with your playing.